Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lei'd Back Life podcast, where we're talking about how to love life, entrepreneurship, and improve daily. Joining me today, Rachel McGary, the one, the only, the founder of Cloud 9 to 5. Has been immersed in the legal world since childhood, helping out at her mom's law firm. After earning a sociology degree from UCF, she planned to become an attorney, but discovered instead a passion for legal tech during her gap year. While attending Ave Maria School of Law, she realized her true calling was helping law firms embrace that technology. Since graduating, she's founded Cloud 9 to 5 and also become the COO of her mother's firm. Now she's on a mission to make legal tech accessible, helping attorneys streamline operations, automate processes, and build the law firm of the future. And ultimately, from my perspective, that's how you live a great life. So I knew I had to have Rachel on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, so it's interesting. So last week we had Billy Tarasio on, and we talked about how to find your people, live a great life. And
Hmm.
so I think this is going to be like find your systems, live a great life,
Right.
find your technology, live a great life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that systems can definitely help attorneys, law firm owners, everyone create a better system. I mean, even you've helped us know how to do that better.
Thank you for that. Did you have like, I know you talked about like finding this passion during law school, but like, was there a moment, was there a specific like, oh my God, the clouds have parted, the sun is shining, like this is the future?
So since my mom's firm she founded it about a year or so before I was born, and she worked out of basically like our kitchen in our house. So And both my parents are pretty techy. And if I wanted allowance that week, that probably meant that I had to scan papers, help her do whatever. So back in 2011, I remember helping her just at 12 years old, get Clio and set that up so we could make it as efficient as possible, even back then, with it just being a true solo. So I
There
think
we
that
go.
kind of steered me. And then I remember not really knowing what I wanted to do after I got my sociology degree. And so took the LSAT, went to law school. During my gap year, I kind of realized that I had no interest in practicing law. Instead, I loved the idea of attorneys and law firm owners, especially small law firms, and wanting to help them use their systems, kind of just how my mom did.
So walk me through, like, tell me this story, right? You talked about your mom like working in the kitchen and then obviously now like building out Clio and having a building and all that stuff. So like what was the impact of the technology on that move to, out of the kitchen and into a traditional office?
Right.
Non-traditional
So
office? I don't
outside
know.
of my sister and I, being kids, my mom's first employee was my aunt, her sister, and we were able to do most of that remotely using Clio, 14 years ago. And she was able to file stuff for us. We were one of the first courts to do e-filing, which was really cool. So my mom hated going down to the courthouse. So I remember, helping her. We would like learn together on e-filing and learn together Clio and all that kind of stuff that really helped her become a true solo that didn't need I mean, we did need more team, but we were able to run pretty efficiently on just one attorney.
So then let's jump forward to now. Like for a business putting together these systems, talk to me about that like flexibility and freedom it gives you. Obviously, like if you saw that 14 years ago, like it's got to be better now.
Oh yeah, I mean, just with even in law school, I mean, the changes that were made when I was having to study law instead, I would get so behind because things progress so much. I mean, now with AI, it's like every single night I'm like having to like read more because things are changing. I was just listening to a podcast this morning where by the time the podcast was uploaded the next day, everything that he talked about was irrelevant. So I think that every single day, like new things are coming out and a lot of attorneys that still are barely even utilizing maybe a CRM or maybe don't have a CRM at all are really just holding themselves and their firm back.
Well, so how are they holding themselves back?
There is so much that can be automated for efficiency that where I know a lot of attorneys are thinking then if you automate something, you're kind of losing the touch of talking to the client in that extra customer service base. But I mean, I bet, you talk about it all the time and so many other people doing what we do talk about it as well. But if you automate those systems, you can actually spend more time talking to the client. Like our firm, if you don't know my mom, she loves to talk. And a big thing is that she has hour plus initial consultations. And we've made it so most of her day is just doing initial consultations because that's why people hear about our office. That's how people tell their friends, their neighbors, and everything because they know that we're such a personable office. Yet so much of our estate planning process is completely automated, but we're able to spend most of the time for the estate planning then in the initial consultation and talking to them, giving them education about estate planning when the rest of the stuff barely takes any time.
And the thing that I find fascinating over the last, 2 or 3 years about this is like flat out, you can just go to like ChatGPT and be like, hey, this is my process. Like, where can you do it and where does it need to be a human? And the answers are fascinating.
Right. So I don't know too much about the probate process within our office. I didn't know much about it in the last, before about a year ago. And about 6 months ago, I sat down, now that I've transitioned into the COO role, and I'm really trying to go back to streamlining a lot of our processes that I wasn't able to when I wasn't able to work at the firm during law school. And I sat down with our law clerk and Amy, my mom, the attorney, and I was like, okay, everyone tell me just step by step exactly what happens. And then I would stop them and be like, no, 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 tell me more. Like you print out the paper and then you're walking down to the office to have her sign it. I was like, we got to stop doing that. Like that, even if it's like 10 minutes a day, adds up to so much time in a month. And you can find that 10 minutes there, and then an hour here and an hour there. And now you're actually having more time talking to the clients.
Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes a day is basically an hour a week. It's
Right,
basically a full work day every 2 months. I mean, it adds up.
right,
I always think it's interesting, we talk about like the concept of compound interest for like growing our retirement accounts, but with automation, it's the compound time. Like, the sooner you put this in place, the more often it runs, the more time savings you get over the length of the firm's life or your life or, whatever it's attached to.
right. Like even I was talking to our team yesterday about we recently got two new VAs, virtual assistants, and one of our attorneys was like, "Oh, I just think it's easier if I just do it. It takes me, an hour a week, but I think it's easier if I just do it. I just don't have time to train them." And I was like, "Okay, but if we just take an hour to train them, then now you're saving that hour for all the weeks to come."
Well,
Which
and
is
I
just like
think
any kind of automation or getting better systems. If a law firm might not even have a CRM yet, but it's because they don't want to take the time to get one, implement one, train the entire team, you're just further progressing the fact that you need one, and down the road you're really going to need one soon, and you're just losing time.
well, and you can apply the same concept to your life. Like for me, like we're filming this just after like tax season. Although if you're a business owner, we're still during tax season, right? But I have a whole thing. I was like, okay, hey, look, my accountant sent me like a checklist of the documents we sent last year. I have that in my SOP with my EA. It's got all the logins to pull the different documents with the name that they were. Like, go down this list. If you see new documents there, pull them and send them to the accountant and update the list. And just now, like, instead of me tracking down or waiting in the mail for 35 different things, like we have a process for it. The same way, the VA would have a drafting process.
Right, right. And there's so many different tools to help you just start building the processes now. I mean, it's like it's so almost dummy proof nowadays.
Well, I think you're giving yourself too much credit. There's a great quote. I hope I nail it exactly. It's every time you think you make something idiot proof, God invents a better idiot. So, but yeah, but ultimately, like at its core, AI is accessibility, right? Like it is taking
Right.
something that used to be a really complicated concept and breaking it down for me to just, talk to just an LLM and get differential equations solved across, whatever. Um,
Right.
I want to talk about that in more detail, but before we dive into like the actual building of the process, I want to talk about the benefits from a life standpoint. Obviously, like Clio 14 years ago, having your mom's sister work there, having e-filing, like there's a location benefit now into VAs and everything. So you are expanding the pool of talent that you can have access to. What are some of the other benefits you're seeing for firms that do implement these tech systems?
I would say that you can take on more cases. I mean, if we didn't have our systems in place, especially like, let's say, I mean, our estate planning system is so, I mean, just so streamlined. It's because it can be so linear like that. And we are able to increase our volume exponentially because of our streamlined processes. We're able to reach more clients and still get that, hour consultation interaction that they're coming here for, but and then in turn gets more revenue. And there's while some systems are a bit more expensive, there are then some ways to make it, more affordable so you can really then increase profit as well.
Yeah. Well, and like, what do you think is the number one benefit of McDonald's?
Oh, the fact that every single time I go and get my McDouble, it tastes exactly the same.
The consistency, and like it's the consistency across so many different locations, and it's the consistency with like some 14-year-old in the back making it, and it's
Right.
like, so having these systems, like, it allows you to have the repeatability to get lower skilled labor because they can follow a system and a process from anywhere, from next door, from across the globe, from, I don't, there used to be McDonald's in Antarctica. I don't know if there still is. But yeah, it's wild to me. And instead, like, lawyers, we keep thinking like, oh, we are wonderful magic unicorns and nobody else can do this. But like, you eventually cap out in time if you don't start putting these things in place.
Right. Like whenever we hire someone new at the office, now we've created, all of our training guides, whether they're in Trainual or they're created with using Scribe, which Scribe is so easy. I mean, you just turn on the web extension on your Chrome and you just do what you're going to do and it writes it out and screenshots it and does the click by click for you. I mean, it's so easy where, if someone on our team is like, "Oh, I don't have time to teach someone how to e-file." Well, next time you e-file, just turn on Scribe and then send them the scribe of you doing it, you know? So it's, I mean, so easy that way to keep things streamlined. We recently had a switch in our office where our estate planning paralegal had to quickly go to probate, and then our brand new attorney who just passed the bar, she had to go into estate planning and really take over even some of the clerk roles. And she we just had everything laid out and then we went through it, and since everything was already streamlined for her, I don't think no client would have noticed that we switched roles.
Oh, totally. And like again, take the same concept and apply it to your life. Like
Right.
the company that cleans my house, they have individual SOPs for every house. And so like we have this entertainment center that my in-laws bought in Oklahoma, and there's a whole like, this is the cleaning material to use on it, and don't do over here's the light, so don't get the electricity don't get the electric system of it wet and stuff. And like, it's just wild to me to see how you have the same opportunities on life stuff that you do on business stuff.
Yeah, I'm very plan A. I mean, I'm very type A. So if I need something done, I will literally go to ChatGPT, even if it obviously doesn't even have to go to work. I'm like, okay, like what are the exact steps or what do I need to all get done to do this? And then I just keep following that.
Well, and by doing it that way, I think like it's so I think we all have this weird concept where we're like, I will tell somebody how to do it once and they will do it correctly forever, which is,
Right.
God bless human nature. It doesn't work for me. If it works for anybody else, good for you. Let me know. But then it's like, by having these technology systems in place or having SOPs written down or having this, like, it's harder for somebody else to not follow the system if they have to skip using this form that automatically gets sent to them, or if they have to not use this program that has everything lined in there, or they have to not follow the scribe SOPs that are, right in their document. It's wild to me the benefit you get of people doing things the right way.
Right. Right. And it will like, we used to do it where just whoever was in that role before would train the next person. But then it was all verbal and it's almost like you're playing the telephone game then. When I remember, being in high school and then working still at the firm in college and stuff. And then when I came back from law school working at the firm, the stuff that was at the front desk, I was like, oh, I didn't think that's how we did it. And then it wasn't even that we meant to change the process. It was just because now so many different people have trained on it that it wasn't written down. So now that we've gotten everything written down, everyone can follow the same process. Or, if someone's gone for the day, our receptionist, if she's gone for the day, she has to go to the doctor's. and we have no one, then anyone in our office can go up there and know how to take an intake call if they need to.
Love it. All right, so we talked about like benefits of having these systems in place, the uh, extending your talent pool geographically and skills based, helping people stick with the system, making training and onboarding easier, the efficiency of bringing on more cases and ultimately being able to do more top line revenue as well as being profitable. I mean, I think that's a lot, but anything else?
Right. I would just say, like, whenever someone needs to figure out how they can improve their processes using technology or just whatever it may be, probably technology is going to help in some way. But figure out what's your goal? Do you want more clients? Do you need more efficiency in your firm? I mean, like, start from there and then look at your processes, look at your tech stack. And I mean, these systems are creating new features every single day. I swear, my inbox is just filled with all the systems that that know of me and that I've subscribed to or that I'm using. And it's like new feature, new feature. I swear, I think ClickUp comes out with a new feature and a new integration 7 times a day.
Possible. With AI, they just have, get on
Right. And
it.
I don't think a lot of people are utilizing those enough where they could be.
So that's okay. I want to highlight something you said that was super important, and then I want to dive into that. So, in terms of like having the outcome in place, I think this is the biggest piece of advice that anybody could ever get. It amazes me how frequently we're like, oh, I want to do this in my life without thinking about like why or the ultimate outcome, right? Like, oh, I
Mhm.
want to eat more vegetables. Why? Like, you
Why?
want to lose weight, you want to live longer, you want healthier, better blood test results. I don't know, whatever the situation is, but like knowing that is super important. So please, I would echo what Rachel said. I would carve it in stone if I could. Like the more you think about what the outcome you're really looking for is, the easier it is to figure out these steps. Um, in terms of what you just said before, though, like let's go deeper on that. And I'm blanking now on what it was.
About figuring out your goal first.
Well, figuring out your goal first, and then you talked about like the other thing you talked about was like the systems you have coming out with new features. So I'd love to hear your perspective on this balance between like, oh, the program I already have will do this X% as well as I want it, or I could add this new program that will do it 100% the way I want. Like, how do you walk people through that balance of more programs or more use of one program?
I don't think, I mean, obviously the lawyer answer is it depends. But I think it truly does depend
Those
on the person
lawyers.
because it depends on your goals, but then also your team. Is your team comfortable using a new program? What would it be like to migrate maybe to, maybe the new one or to integrate it? How well does it do that? I know my team at the law office hates new programs. So like their biggest thing is they're like, Rachel, is there a way that you can just get everything on one? I'm like, okay, well, that's not truly possible unless I just go and code a whole new app, which I don't have time for. Um,
For
but
now.
right for now. And but I think it's a lot of that of figuring out what's best for your team, what's best for you, what's best finance wise. Obviously, new systems cost a lot of money, and they cost a lot of money if you need to migrate information over to them.
I also think you're adding so much complexity,
Right.
right? Like if you have a new hire at the firm, or you bring somebody new, into your an executive, a personal assistant into your life, and you're like, hey, all of the things you need to know are in this Notes app or in this Scribe account, versus like, okay, there's these things in Clio, and these things are in Todoist, and these things are on my email, and these things are like you're just adding so much more complexity. And so like, I I love your answer, and I wish there was a obvious hard answer. I usually tell people I'm a big Pareto principle, 80/20 rule. So like if you can get a current system to do it 80% of the way
Right.
you want, that's probably my like we're good.
Right. And I mean, especially law firms in general, the stereotype of law firms, which is true, is that a lot of people who work in law firms are maybe not happy with the systems they use, but are comfortable with the systems they used. I've worked with multiple law firms since starting my own business of where, it's either the one of the head attorneys, some of the other attorneys, paralegals that have worked there in 20 years, and they are almost refusing to use a new system. even though like I can show them how much better their lives would be and how much time they could save by doing it. But they're like, this is how we've done it forever, so this is how we want to do it.
Well, it's interesting. So, everybody who's watching this came out on Tuesday. This Friday, I've got a newsletter coming out. This week's newsletter is on being unique. And so, like, where do you have that uniqueness of you and using that as a benefit? And so it's funny here, you're like, well, these attorneys don't want to be new and different. They want to use what's already there, but like, you're missing out on a lot of things. So
Right.
hopefully that we can help more people be unique or have their unique system that does things the way they uniquely want them to do to stand out. Otherwise, like there's 500,000 attorneys across 1.5 million firms, give or take.
Right. And I think you can even use, I mean, you can use automation to make yourself stand out as more unique because you can make sure that the email that's going out to every single prospective client or new client is uniquely yours and it's going out every single time the exact same way to that client, whether that's a welcome video that you just shoot once, but now it's going out to every single client automatically. So now that's making you more than unique than your receptionist or intake specialist typing in an email that might be the same, but also might not have your branding voice or might not be giving the clients what they want or make you stand out if they booked three other appointments with three other free initial consultations with attorneys.
I love it. It's so true. And the more, the smarter AI gets, the more noise there's going to be in that process, right? Like there's every firm is going to add estate planning at the point that you could just put four answers in a chat GPT and get an estate
Right.
plan. So like the more that you can be personal and the more you can be unique and the more you can share what you do and the more you can do things differently, I think that's how you're going to stay ahead of the wave of good enough tech.
Right. Like in our firm, with now estate planning being so streamlined in our firm, now we're working on ways, okay, how can we then make, estate planning more unique to us? Whether that's doing religious healthcare surrogates and marketing that, because that's not really something a lot of people do. Because obviously, living wills or healthcare surrogates can be different based on religion. Or
Mhm.
maybe we're targeting engaged couples, because most engaged couples aren't thinking about doing their estate planning documents, but that is very important. So it's just kind of figuring out once you have streamlined maybe the processes, then what's your next goal? Getting more clients. Okay, how can we do that?
Dig it. Yeah. It's funny to me, like a lot of people talk about AI and technology as like the crutch, but I love the fact that we keep coming back to it's not the crutch, it's the foundation to be more human.
Right. Right. I think like, I mean, my entire LinkedIn feed is just filled with legal tech people or attorneys saying if you're not adopting AI, you're going to get left behind. And I can't agree with that more. I think that a lot of attorneys in law firms, I've noticed also it's bigger law firms that are more hesitant when I feel like I can um try and sorry, try and convince a true solo the benefits of using AI. I just met with a true solo attorney up in the Panhandle, and she totally understands the benefits of using AI and technology after we talked, because she might be, hiring her first admin person, but if we can streamline systems, it would be almost like she hired three more people.
Well, and I think that's look, every person is different, right? We're all unique in some manner, hence what we've talked about a couple times. But from a large scale breakdown, I think we're going to see that as a bell curve because like Clio just released their mid-size firms report, and
Right.
there was a lot more adoption of mid-size firms as solos. And so I think there's like that fat middle where like the big firms are so big and so established that doesn't matter. And then solos, there's certainly ones who are on board. There's other ones who don't have the time, the money, the resources to do it. And so I think like that mid-size firm, which I think was around 50 lawyers,
Hmm.
I think that's where you're seeing the like, hey, we can leverage tech and get exponential growth to compete with the big firms, and we have more resources than the true solos. And so I'd be really curious to see over the next couple of years, like what the bell curve of firm size versus AI adoption is, because I think it was like 97% across,
Oh, wow, yeah.
93% across.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
my best friend actually, she works at a mid-sized firm around 50, 60 attorneys, and they have an AI ban. And I'm just waiting to the day when someone realizes how insane that is. They do litigation, and I see her spending hours and hours and hours just watching depositions. And it's crazy.
defense side,
Yeah,
that's why. Because those sweet billable hours,
right.
nothing's
Right.
gonna
But
hate
then the
AI
big
like.
companies are gonna, they're gonna see that another law firm can do it in half the time and they don't have to pay them half of it.
Yeah. And do it just as well or better because
Exactly.
I can't imagine like my eyes glazing over from 13 hours of depo that ChatGPT could have done in 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't do litigation at our firm.
Makes total sense. So, for somebody listening to this, where do they start?
Start for what exactly?
Well, okay, so James Clear's got the quote. I'm not going to nail it exactly, but every system is perfectly designed to get the outcome it currently gets. So we all currently have systems, even if
Right.
we were never intentional about it. So if I'm the business owner listening to this, who is going to say, "I have nothing." Ultimately, you have a system. It's just not intentional, written down, or whatever.
Right.
Where do they start? What's the first step to take to start putting these things in place?
Right. So actually, when I first opened up my own company, I kind of took the start of having them tell me what automations they're looking for specifically or something like that. And now that I've taken a step back and re kind of defined how I want to do coaching, now the attorneys in small law firms I'm working with, we start off with what are your goals? What is your 1 month goal? What is your 6 month goal? What is your 1 year goal? Your 5 year goal? These are all very important to know because that is where we can, like, start from the goal and then work backwards.
I love that. The backcasting. The other thing that I find is I think a lot of people don't actually know what their problem truly is.
Right.
So it's like, what automation do you want? Well, I want an automation that does X, but with the outcome decision, you actually realize they want a system that does Y, which will
Right.
get them to the same place that an automation that does X would not have
Right. Or
gotten.
like they might have heard of an automation from someone else, but maybe the system that they use, or maybe it's not perfect for their firm. And if they tell me the why instead, that's why I always, okay, why do you want that? Why are you looking for that? What is the goal you're hoping to achieve with that? Is that maybe there's a better automation or maybe there's a better system to get that way that could be cheaper, more efficient, or can make you more money or get you more clients or improve your brand.
Yeah. Well, and I think the prioritization of the order of rollout of automations.
Right.
Like if you have two major problems at the firm, but one of them's a 20-hour week problem and one of them's a 2-hour week problem, like doing the 20-hour week problem first gives you that much more time to address the
Right.
less timely problem.
I know we always have to, whenever we're in meetings at our own firm, and we're going over like what we want to accomplish this quarter or this year, I'm like, okay, what is the overall picture? What's going to save us the most time? What should we get started on? Like, what is our overall goal? And then what are the smaller goals to achieve that big goal?
Are you, how much are you pushing back on that versus accepting what they're saying? Where does that balance come in?
In my own firm,
Own firm, coaching with other firms, either one.
obviously, especially with coaching with other firms compared to the firm I work in, my mom's, where I can have a little bit more, we are in office at the firm almost every day. So I can, get my hands a little bit more dirty and, as I'm in there making the systems, making sure they're using them every single day. But when it comes to me coaching other attorneys, other law firms where I'm not, there in person, not holding their hand as much, if they're giving pushback, I have to know that I can create a system for them. I can train them even. I can step by step the process. I can do check-ins with them. It still doesn't mean they're going to use it.
Yes. And I think that's so important as well as applying that to the next step. Like, and just because the firm owner does those things doesn't necessarily mean the employees will. And so, like, you really have to have that buy-in at the top, but with the understanding of how you trickle it down through the whole organizational chart.
Right. Like if one paralegal is using the the system, the technology, but then the attorney's not, then there's going to be disconnect. I mean, I was working with a firm last year and we would be doing training calls and only the paralegals would show up to the training calls. And there was three attorneys in the firm and none of the three attorneys would show up even though it was on the calendar, they got busy, whatever. And then I would hear back from the paralegals and the staff that they were utilizing the systems, but since the attorneys weren't, the systems were breaking.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, and I think the like one of the biggest things is explaining to people the importance and showing them why and how it works.
That was gonna be my next question. Yeah, just I like ultimately a well-designed system makes life easier. I think that to me that's always sort of there might be other specific outcomes, but like the overarching goal is to make things easier, I find.
Right? Like in my own coaching business, something that I've really been beginning to push is not just me going in and making the automations or making the changes, is showing the attorney, showing the team why and how I'm making these changes so they can understand. I mean, because in 5 years, these changes are going to be different, but as long as you have the base knowledge, you can keep growing and you can keep getting ideas. Because if an attorney doesn't understand the systems, how are they going to tell me other ways that I mean, I'm not with them 24/7 and they might not know that something is capable. So if they don't tell me or if we're not discussing it during their goals, how am I to know? But if I can show them and like actually teach them about tech and AI, it will have their brain going too as with the whole staff. I mean, even just in our office, our receptionist, she's 72, and I am sitting down with her and teaching her ChatGPT and I like just use it. I was like, I don't care if you're using ChatGPT to know what shampoo you want to use. I was like, I just want you using it just to get comfortable with it because you're going to start realizing all the things it can do. And then you and I can work together on improving more systems.
Well, it's to me, I always think it's a very focused way to think. I'm gonna quote unquote for those of you that can't see this out loud, right? Like there are those people that kind of talk their way through a solution to a problem, and I always kind of treat an LLM as like that conversation accelerator more so
Right.
than like, please, I have zero clue. I put no thought into this. Like, where do we start it? But more the like, okay, well, what am I missing? This is what I'm thinking. What am I missing? What am I not considering? What other programs will handle this that I haven't considered? And watching to see what its answers are.
Oh, all my bots and agents that I created or GBTs or whatever it may be, or if I'm just using it, blank and telling it, I'm always like, question me, find the hole, like find holes, ask me questions, keep interviewing me. Like, let's get down to the nitty gritty because I might write, as good as my AI prompts can be, but obviously now we're learning much more about prompt engineering. The more that you put in, the more you're going to get out. I was just reading something this morning about the new, is it 4.5 we're on right now? And it was like you could be more vague in the old ones and get okay answers. In 4.5, you don't want to be vague at all. You want to tell it exactly what you want and then have it almost criticize and question you.
Think that was the O3 test,
Was I
or maybe
was whatever
O4.
the new one came out with, that was the most recent one, like in the last week.
Yeah, well, so all of those things have come out in the last week or
Right.
two, but like to me, 4.5 is the most human
Hmm.
in like their answers like I don't know if we don't still have the Turing test or if this is blown past it. Like I think that's the one. I think it was O3 was the one they were talking about, like the advanced reasoning or O3 mini or something like that, that they were saying like you could actually take it off track.
Right.
Yeah, well, and ultimately I'm at the point where like we're talking prompt engineering. Why are there so many different models? Like it should know my prompt enough to know which model to go to, which I think is something they've tried out or slowly rolling out between searching, deep research,
I agree.
whatever.
Sometimes I forget
Um,
to like switch, to switch which one I want to use based on what I'm doing. And then I'll even say like make sure I'm using the right one. Or in the GPTs, it's only
Mhm.
using a certain one. When some are better for image, some are better. I mean, there's the one that's all about task scheduling, and then
Yeah.
one's great for video now. So, and what obviously then there's deep research, which is insane.
Yes. And look, caveat, none of this is ever 100% correct, and don't put confidential information in and yada yada yada. Like let's just lawyer CYA.
Right.
But oh my God, like the thing. So Rachel, you might think I'm crazy. Maybe you already do. For the longest time, like I'm not a big drinker, but I like food. And so I was like, I don't understand why there isn't just some sort of resource for like every food happy hour, right? Like
Mm.
Wednesday wing nights at these places. Okay, Tuesdays, this at the Taco Tuesdays at these places. So I went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, within, you know, 20 minutes of my house in Orlando, I want you to find me all the stuff. And when I tell you it wasn't remotely right 100%.
Oh,
And there were ones where it was like, oh, like Celia's Tavern. This is not a real place, but hypothetically, places like this might do this thing. But like in 30 minutes of the computer's time, it got me 50 places that I had never heard of or didn't know they had specials or whatever. Like it was a incredible place to start. Like I wouldn't even have began to try this process, but for wanting to test out deep research. It was
it's so
wild.
funny that you mentioned the happy hour thing because whenever I go on vacation now, like I'm using ChatGPT to help me with my itinerary, help me figure out places to eat. And I just went to New York for 5 days and in the city, and I was on there and I was like, find me happy hours based on where I am. And then obviously, not always your itinerary can go perfect. So, we were by one museum and I pulled out my phone. I was like, okay, I'm by, the Met. Tell me where is the best happy hour. It's 3 o'clock. I want a margarita and I want some small bites. Where's the best place? Well, it came up with about 10. Half were on maybe in Queens, but it did tell me some correct ones. So I think that I have noticed that a lot of times it does hallucinate with like restaurants and stuff.
But I'm not correct 100% of the time. So at least it's like both of us have to be wrong at the same time in the same thing. Otherwise,
Right.
at least it's a great place to start.
Exactly. Exactly. Because then it just took me a few seconds to figure out which ones were real and go on their websites, but then it at least gave me something to start with.
Yeah. So as we continue to transition this conversation to the life side of this for the last, 5 or 10 minutes, what other uses are you seeing for AI and technology in terms of helping people live better lives?
I would say I'm using it like I'm using ChatGPT for everything. I mean, I don't go on Google anymore, and I am using it for everything. I mean, whether it's getting a stain out of something when it's learning to clean, you can tell I've been in cleaning mode recently. Um, but just how to do something and then doing that, most of my life is work. So I'm trying to think of things that I do outside of work. Um,
There's these great newsletters that come out every Friday that talk about how to live a better life and have
I
hobbies
know
and
that
interests
is
and
that is
stuff.
part of
So
what we're doing here is learning about our life. But I do love work, so that is my better life.
So like something that has been really helpful at my house, we have Alexa throughout different
I
rooms.
was about to mention the Alexas.
Yeah. Okay, so then jump in and I'll
Yeah,
give
I
mine
mean,
afterwards.
even just like whenever it's Amazon Black Friday, I'm like buying more light switches using the Alexas. I love you posted on Facebook or LinkedIn when you were out of town a couple weeks ago, and it made me really laugh about I just woke up and said, "Hey Google," and none of my lights turned on. It didn't tell me what the weather was or whatever, everything that it does. So, I mean, it can just at the end of the day, I can go, I can leave my house and say, make sure all the lights are off and make sure my door is locked. I'm terrible at remembering to lock my front door. So that tells me if I can just say that and it's done it. You can, probably hook something up to tell you to feed the dog at this time. I mean,
Yeah.
like there's just so many things that you can do that give you back time in your life.
I'm waiting for the like virtual gardener. Like it will take a picture of like it'll wander around, it'll see that this plant is underwatered, it'll dump some water on and it'll go to the hose and refill its storage, like Roomba gardener. That's what I'm waiting for.
I do. So something, and I saw this, I think on TikTok, that's where I got the idea, and then someone's now creating like a whole app around it too, is it well, you tell it what's in your fridge. Hope the app is the goal of like maybe connecting it to, maybe your Amazon Whole Foods order or whatever it may be. So it knows what's in your fridge, or maybe some, eventually one of our fridges can scan what's in them one day. But it knows what's in your fridge, and I can say, okay, maybe I'm in the mood for something salty, or maybe I have no idea what I want, and it can spit me out a recipe of everything that's in my fridge. So I don't have to worry about figuring out what I want for dinner, or maybe I'm Googling it, what I want for dinner, finding a recipe, and then I figure out I don't have, that seasoning, or I don't have enough eggs, or whatever it may be.
I mean, I foresee, well, one, I take a picture of all of my food and put it in ChatGPT. I've got a whole rundown of like weight loss, body recomposition, longevity goals, fiber, whatever. But like ultimately, Amazon has to have something where like if you have a spice rack and like the weight of the spices in it or some sort of way to scan it and then like ping you, hey, you're running low on ginger or cinnamon or turmeric or whatever else, like that's we're there. Whether
Right.
it's worth, I mean, I might be $500 and it's not worth it for the AI spice rack, but like it's got to be a thing that already exists.
Oh, for sure. I mean, now even just like, I was talking with someone at our firm the other day about the Amazon stores that are now, we don't have them where I'm living. I don't know if you guys have them in Orlando. You guys might, being
I
so
haven't
big.
seen one.
But the Amazon stores where you just walk out and knows what you have.
Yeah.
I mean, like, then that can, maybe then Alexa knows that. Or maybe when you walk in, if you use your Alexa shopping list, like I'm walking around the house, if we're running low on paper towels, I yell out to her, to add paper towels to the shopping list. So then when I'm at Target or Publix, I know to get more paper towels.
Yeah, that's so we have the same thing like with my 7-year-old. He knows like if he's out of chocolate milk, he'll add it to the list. Now, to be fair, every now and then I will go food shopping and there will be 75 snacks on the list and I will just
Right.
not buy them and close it off. However, the overwhelming majority of the time, it is amazing to me that I'm like, oh, okay, it says grapes. We must be out of grapes. And like, I'll bring them in. And sure enough, we had, one bushel, I don't know, one
Yeah.
thing, one serving of grapes to a 7-year-old was there. And now we have a new one because he told Alexa it was great.
Yeah, I remember everyone in my house, like remind them. I'm like, if we need something, just put it on the list. If I'm not home or you don't want to grab your phone and text me, but even that, if you text me it, I'm probably not gonna remember
Right. Just put it on the
it when
list.
I go to the
It's in the
store.
place.
Just add it on the list because I'm gonna check the list.
I love it. All right, so I want to briefly talk about next week's episode, and then we'll wrap up here. Next week, we've got Darren Wirtz on. Darren's the founder and CEO of the Lawyer Millionaire Founders Network, a premier organization dedicated to business strategy and financial planning for lawyers. Best-selling author of The Lawyer Millionaire, host of the Lawyer Millionaire podcast, and he widely respected authority who empowers law firm owners to achieve financial success by focusing on business expansion, profit maximization, and wealth growth. So, really cool chat we're going to have next week about, the finances of a great life. I think it's super easy for us to talk about business finances until the sun implodes. But in terms of like to use Rachel's thing, like what's the outcome? How much money do you need to get out of your business to have the life you want? And then like what are you doing? Why are you doing more than that? And I'm not telling you not to, but like understand the reason. So super excited for that chat. All right, Rachel, anything else that we should cover with the last?
I do want to mention I read an insanely amazing book last week, or a few weeks ago now, was The AI Driven Leader, and it was so good. I think like anyone in our, legal tech realm, it even gave me a million ideas, opened up my mind even more. But for anyone who's wondering if they should adopt AI in their firm, maybe they're hesitant on it, maybe they don't even know where to start or how to think about it, it is crazy. I mean, it first dives into Blockbuster. Blockbuster was saying that the digital age wasn't coming, and then they went out of business. And I think that's kind of what a lot of small attorneys, or any attorney, but you can make an incredible system using technology and AI.
Yeah,
And if you don't in the next 5 years, who knows what's going to happen? Someone's probably going to beat you to it.
I love it. That's Jeff Woods, AI driven
Yes.
leader. Cool.
Hmm.
We'll link it, and then at this point, I'll probably read it
It's
in the
so good.
next. But so this episode will air in June. So I'll see if I can have the book read by June. We're recording it at the end of April. All right. So for anybody who has listened for the last 50 minutes or so and is smart enough to want to hear more from you and get these insights and ultimately put some of these systems in place, what's the best way for them to stay in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Just look Cloud 925. 925 is all numbers, except my Instagram, the 2 is TWO, because Cloud apparently 925 with numbers was taken by some bot.
Interesting.
But they can go to my website, cloud925.com. They can email me at hello@cloud925.com or rachel@cloud925.com.